We need to talk about what's going on in the shop. So as you guys know, we started the F12 project last fall, and the goal for this project was to build a 1,500 horsepower Ferrari Gymkhana car. So we've got a lot done on the F12 project, a ton of fabrication, a lot of stuff has been moving forward, but we've been kind of putting it on hold for the last few months. And the real reason for that is that, well, we moved here to the new HQ, to the block, and since day one, we've been shredding tires back here.
And I'm kicking my feet up, they freak like a Aretha. I'm calm, but I'm teed up, just flip me a stack. The re-up just doubled up off of the muscle, I stuck to the task. You see me, I'm trouble.
Drifting in general is very, very hard on the equipment. And I know that from personal experience over many years of professional drifting, which is why I'm building the F12 the way I'm building it, with a rear mount radiator, with a fuel cell, with a quick change diff. All these components we've selected so that the car can be very reliable. Here's the problem. Not me, no, the engine is not in the car. It's currently a D Sport and the guys are working on it. But this entire build of the engine has taken a lot of time, and that's normal because every single part is custom. We got the custom pistons made, we got the custom rods made that we did have an issue with on the fitment, so those had to go back and get fixed. Now all of these parts are starting to come together. It just takes time to build something so custom. So the only car we have that's being purpose built to take that kind of abuse, well, it's obviously not done yet. But that hasn't stopped Damon and Dave from beating the piss out of the other cars out on the block. So in the meantime, the guys bought two Ferrari 599s. Well, they look like 599s, but they sound absolutely amazing with the straight piped V12s. So we got the 599s and we installed manual conversion kits from EAG in both of the cars. We put in custom handbrakes in both of the cars, but that doesn't make them drift cars. And because they are not proper drift cars, they keep breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking and breaking. So what do we do with the 599s? Do we continue to thrash them out here on the block and fix them every single time they break so they might make it another few laps? Or do we just keep them as nice street cars that can slide around and finish the F12 and get the F12 out there on the block, shredding tires, really what it was meant to do? So I think I've convinced Damon and Dave that the right move is to push forward with the F12 project. But first, we've got to fix this 599. This engine might be toast. We do not know what's going on with it yet. We just know it's overheating badly and it's pushing coolant out like crazy out of the cap. So Tim and I are gonna have to dive into the 599 and figure out what's going on with this engine. Why is it overheating? And then a little later, I'm gonna show you guys this absolutely amazing part that someone built for us. They spent over 200 hours on it and it is beautiful and it is a huge component for the F12. So for those of you that don't know what happened with the 599, well, Jamie, play the clip.
Oh my God.
It overheated. But how bad did it overheat? Is it as bad as my AMG? My AMG overheated so badly that it warped the heads and filled the cylinders with water. We're currently trying to save that engine and trying to rebuild it. We're not sure if that's gonna happen yet, but obviously overheating can completely destroy an engine. So we don't know what's going on with this engine yet. Is it a bad head gasket? Is it something else like a stuck thermostat? We're not sure. We need to dive into this car and really figure out what's going on with it. Okay, get ready. So our plan of attack is to drain the entire cooling system, remove all the water from it, and then we're gonna remove the thermostat. Because if the thermostat is stuck closed, that will easily cause the engine to overheat. So we're gonna remove that. We're gonna vacuum bleed the entire system to get all of the air out of it, and then refill it with water and coolant. And at that point we could fire it up and see if it warms up to its normal temperature or if it overheats again. I was like, just don't get me. Directly. And my shoe and my pants. Fun. All right, so we got the thermostat out of there, so that will eliminate that possibility. We got the thermostat housing back on there. All the water is drained out, so now we can plug the hoses back in, clamp them, and then we can go to the top of the car and do the vacuum bleeding procedure. All right, so this is the vacuum bleeder right here. As you can see, I modified it with an aftermarket gauge. Everything's for racing. Now we're starting to see some vacuum in there.
How much pressure are you looking for?
It's actually lack of pressure. Usually about 15. Normally, sometimes the bigger cooling system might go down a bit more, just different. So that's usually around where they go to. And I know this is kind of weird, like we're putting compressed air. You would think you'd be pressurizing the system, but there's actually like, the way this is designed, the air is flowing past here really fast, and it creates a vacuum through a small hole here, and it's able to actually pull like, yeah, we're at like 16 inches of vacuum. So that's pretty solid. Now we'll close this valve. It's not moving anymore. And then pop that off, and that should stay there. It should hold that. If it doesn't, then we've got a leak somewhere. If it starts dropping down, that leak could be a hose, or it could be the engine internally if the gasket was toast. All right, so we waited a couple minutes. This is still holding vacuum, so I can pop this off, and I can put this on, which is the filler hose. So we can bring that bucket of water over here that we drained, which is still water and coolant. We'll fill it up as much as we possibly can, then we'll have to add more water to that because I don't think the system was completely full. So let's get this in there. All right. This part is pretty cool. This valve's already open. When I open this valve, it's just gonna start sucking water in here really fast, and you'll watch this pressure gauge or the vacuum gauge drop down. Ready?
Yep. Whoa.
Water's getting sucked up.
Very exciting. Out, almost out, before we get into air. All right, I got it.
Okay.
All right. Chill, Tim. But yeah, the idea is we don't want to get any air bubbles in the system. So before that runs out of water, we'll stop it. So that valve is closed now. We'll get this into this distilled water and then open it back up again. I think we're just about full. Sounds like it's stopped. Yeah, yeah, you can see the water bubbles moving around here now. So we are full. We're done with this. All right, so it should be so full that water is actually gonna spit out of here because we had that water bottle raised. So let's see if that's the case. No, just filled. Oh yeah, it's just to the top. Okay, well that is perfect. We can just put a little bit more water in there just to make sure. There's always gonna be a little gap when you warm up the car anyway, because the water is gonna expand, it's gonna push out of the cap, and then it's gonna be at the right level. So right now, we're just gonna overfill it and make sure that it's completely full, there are no air bubbles, and then we'll start this thing up.
I might spill.
Don't spill. Not bad.
Not bad, not too shabby. Overfill.
All right, it's full.
All right, caps on, let's fire this thing up.
All right, you gotta plug in the kill switch because these cars, for some reason, Ferraris tend to die for some reason, especially Dave's car. Dave's car dies in like a day versus this car. It kind of lasts, but just take it out just in case.
Fire this thing up now. We know that there are no air bubbles in the system whatsoever, and we've also removed the thermostat. So 2 of the possibilities have been eliminated. It's time to see if this thing still overheats. project and it's expensive to do. So I'm hoping it's something simple.
I already dropped this trans like 3 times already. I don't want to do another one.
So the car's warming up. It's not overheating yet, but I'm not sure at which point the fans are supposed to come on. There's no like set temperature here, obviously, that say when the fans are gonna come on. And we're almost at 100 C already, which is basically, it's boiling, it's 212 degrees. I think the fans should probably come on before that, but I don't know. So I think we might have to fire up Dave's 599 and see where the fans come on that one. Fans aren't on yet, right, Tim? It's just like steadily climbing and climbing. Yeah, it's at 100 right now.
Yeah, the fans aren't coming on. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, so it's over 110 C, so it's over 220 degrees, which the fan should definitely be on right now.
Hot. The good thing is it's not spitting out of the radiator cap like it was before.
Yeah.
So that's good. But yeah, the fans definitely weren't coming on.
Yeah, so let's fire up Dave's car, and then we'll get that thing hot and see when the fans come on that car, so we know for sure that they both are supposed to come on at this certain temperature and this one is not doing it, and then we can look into that issue.
As you can see, we have it plugged in. We got a problem. Error. Something's wrong with this battery. But hopefully it'll start without having to get the jumper pack. Kill switch is off, so luckily whatever's in it now shouldn't have drained back into the car, but I don't know, this car has some weird parasitic drain for some reason. All right, nothing came on the car, that's a good sign. Yep.
We'll try again.
I think we need the jumper back.
The old, not so reliable.
Anyways, hold on. What's going on? Why is this battery not happy? Seems like we're good now. What the heck? What is happening? This is a problem. I reset the trickle charger and now we have life in there. Something's flashing. So I'm gonna try this one more time. All right, it's good. Let's go. Oh, the light's on. Don't waste my battery. Turn off.
Start it!
What? Alright, so we just stepped away for a second so you guys could hear me over the straight pipe 599, but we got the car started and now we're just gonna wait and see when the radiator fans come on, because we're pretty sure that this car actually works and it hasn't had any overheating issues, so the fan should be working on this car. I don't know if you guys remember or not, but Damon's car did catch on fire, so maybe the gremlins from the wiring harness being on fire is finally catching up to that car. Hopefully that's not the case, but we'll just have to see. Oh, I think I just heard the fans come on. It looks like they came on at 3/4 of the way to 100. Let's take a look and confirm. It looks like the fans are on now, so that's good.
Both or just one?
I think just this side. Yeah, that's that side. That side's on.
So it's holding the temperature right now at under 90 C with only one fan on. I don't know how the fans are triggered. Usually it's an ECU signal that sends the signal to a relay. We'll have to do a little research and figure out some wiring and where the relays are, where the fuses are, so we can check those on the red car and see what's going on. All right, so I've located the fuse and relay location for the fans. I still don't know where the signal wire is, but we'll check the relays and the fuses first. Here's the relays and the fuses. I've checked the relays, they're both good, and they are getting power. So next thing I'm gonna check are the relays themselves. So I'm gonna try to pop these caps off and see if I can mechanically turn the relays on to get the fans working. All right, so here's the relays, and this is the point where it connects. This thing gets charged with electricity and it pulls this little flap over. So when I push this, it should turn the fan on if it's getting power, and the fans actually do work.
Oh,
There you go. So that one works, that's that side.
yep.
There you go. That's that one. So both of the fans work. They're getting power. The relays seem to be working because that connection makes a point. I don't know if a relay is bad internally, if it's not making the connection internally to actually move that flap to close it. And that's something we'll have to check. We're starting to narrow down the issue, and we know that the actual fans work. They're just not coming on when they're supposed to. All right, so I'm gonna start the car up and get it up to the point where the fans are supposed to come on. And then I'm actually just gonna put some tape on those relays to hold those little flaps closed so the electricity is gonna flow through them and go to the fans and run the fans. I think I might just turn one fan on right now, since in Dave's car, that's all that was running. The second fan might only come on if it gets really hot or if the air conditioning is on or something like that. So I wanna kind of replicate that same situation and make sure the car doesn't overheat with only that one fan running at the right temp. All right, so it's up at the temperature or even slightly past it, so I'm gonna turn the fan on now. It was this one for this side? Yeah. All right, so both of the fans are running full speed. Feels like the same amount of airflow we were feeling out of Dave's 599, but the temp's still a bit high. So let me watch it and see if it actually drops down or if it's just kind of staying like right under 100.
Fingers crossed. The fans weren't coming on, but that may not be the problem, knowing that the temperature isn't going down right away. That's a little bit concerning. Hopefully it starts going down normally now, but we'll see.
The car is still running hot. It's kind of stabilized now at about 95 C, but it's definitely running hotter than Dave's car, and Dave's car only had one fan working. We've got both the fans on. They're still on because we've got them taped open, but I think what we need to do is leave these fans running for a little bit, cool this thing down so we can open up the coolant cap, and then use a cooling system tester to see if the head gasket is bad, because the fans might have failed or something in the cooling system as far as the electronics. The fans weren't turning on, the car overheated, and then it caused the head gasket to fail. That's still a possibility, so we're gonna have to try another test. So these issues we're having with the 599 right now are one of the many reasons why it's not a reliable drift car. Ferraris are known to have electrical issues. I'm not sure if that's what's causing this right now. With a factory electrical system, there's so many layers, there's so many things that can go wrong, and it's really hard to diagnose them. With a race car, with a Motec or whatever aftermarket ECU system you put into a car, all of these things are easy to see. You can hook up your laptop and you can pull all of the data, live data, recorded log data, and you can figure out what is going on. You're never gonna have a car that is 100% reliable and never breaks. That's just not possible. These are mechanical things and they break. When you build it properly and when you have the right electronics in place, you can pinpoint the problems quickly and solve the issue and not beat around the bush and try to figure out what's going on and spend all this time and not know what's wrong with it still. Battery voltage is low. Just with the fans running for like 5 minutes, the battery voltage dropped like crazy, so it barely started up. Yeah, so right now we were feeling one side of the radiator and it was almost cool. It was just warm, it wasn't hot. Now we're thinking maybe it could be a water pump issue also, not flowing the water. It's really weird. Well, even with all 3 fans running, it's still at the same temperature that it was running on Dave's car. So there is definitely something up. We're gonna let it cool off a bit more and then we'll do the head gasket test. Now the car's cooled down enough, we can open the radiator cap. I'm gonna check this hose first. It's cool and there's not an excessive amount of pressure, so I know I can open this up. Well, that means the cap's still good. It is holding pressure, so it's not a bad cap. But now we're gonna use our cooling system tester. So this fluid will actually change color if exhaust gas gets into it. So it's basically like a carbon monoxide tester. If it sees that, it's gonna change color from, I believe, from blue to green or yellow. But we need to suck a little bit of this coolant out of here because you don't want the coolant going in and mixing with this. So I got my turkey baster here. And start sucking some water out of it. If you guys saw the clip before, the previous video when the 599 was overheating and it was boiling out, trying to figure out if the head gasket was bad, well, we were basically trying to decide if those bubbles were either air pockets and the coolant was boiling and causing more bubbles to come out, or if it was a bad head gasket. So with the tester, it's gonna allow those bubbles to come through that fine little mesh screen thing in there, come into that fluid. And then, like I said, if it gets into the fluid and it changes color, then we'll know there's exhaust gas inside a cooling system, which means that inside a combustion chamber, the exhaust gas is not going out of only the exhaust valves, it's also going past the gasket or a crack in the head or a crack somewhere and into the cooling system, which is obviously really bad. We're gonna have to run the car again, get it hot again, see what happens. Fire in the hole.
All right, I'm ready.
Okay, go. The results of this test, well, it's huge. That's gonna tell us if there's an issue with the head gasket or a cracked block or a cracked head. If everything passes on this test, then we can start looking elsewhere in the system to try to find out the problem. But if this shows that the gasket's bad or there's exhaust gas inside of the cooling system, that's gonna mean engine out, full teardown. So I can't really tell what's going on. The coolant level isn't staying steady. It got up to a certain temp and it just keeps climbing. And I can't tell if it's actually just the water and the coolant boiling that's doing all those bubbles or if it is a head gasket. And basically with that tester, you can't get coolant in it. It's supposed to just suck air from the top and test that. But if it gets water and coolant in it, it dilutes the solution and it doesn't work. All right, stop bubbling over. Maybe we're at a point where we can start it now and try it again. Shut it off. Like, immediately. Oh, that just bubbled up from air though. That didn't get any coolant in at that time. But it's not changing color. I'll start it up again. Yep. Turn it off. Yeah, that's hot coolant now. Well, this is tough. So it's not changing color. There was definitely some air pushing through it and it didn't change color. But why is the water boiling like that? What's the temp at? Under 100, right?
Yeah.
So it's under boiling, and it's not just the water, there's also coolant which raises the temperature slightly. Obviously the radiator cap puts more pressure on things and makes that boiling point even higher. But if we're at 85 or 90 C right now, which is under 200 degrees, getting all those bubbles, I don't know where they're coming from. That's really odd. I have never seen this before. It would be an easy thing like, oh yeah, it just changed color, the head gasket's bad. But right now it's just pressure, it's just bubbling.
This side of the radiator is like ice cold.
This
How's
side
that
is
side?
too.
Really?
Yeah, it's like not even.
I mean, it was getting
it's barely
hot-ish on the dash. It was like 100 C.
Yeah, but that means we might need to check the water pump, which apparently is not just a water pump, it's also the dry sump oil pump. It's one of those situations where I'm stumped. I do not know what's going on with this thing right now. A lot of times with a lot of common cars, you can just go onto the forums and search, why is this happening? Or my car is overheating, what could be the issues? Well, unfortunately with Ferrari chat, it's not like that. It's guys on there asking about what's the weather like in Napa that time of year. I'm thinking about taking a drive up there to visit some wineries. Not a lot of information for what we're trying to do. And we don't have access to the Ferrari dealer network. So trying to find out any information on this car is extremely difficult. It's calling friends of friends, trying to see if they have any issues like this before that they know of. There's just zero information, and it's really hard to get that out of anybody. And that's the reason that I'm building the F12 the way that I am. Yes, it's a big project and it takes a lot of time to do it. But when this car is done and when we run this car, if we have an issue, say if the water pump goes out, well, the water pump is electronic and it's controlled through a power distribution module. And you can pull the data from that power distribution module and it'll tell you, is it pulling more amps? Is it pulling any amps? Has it completely failed? Pinpoint the problem quickly, replace the part quickly for not a lot of money because we're not using factory Ferrari parts and as many of the parts on this car that we possibly can. It's just simplifying everything and really building the car to be driven hard all the time. And that's a real problem with a 599. There are so many possibilities of what it could be. It could be a water pump. It still could be a head gasket. Something wrong with the electronics. The fans are not coming on. There's so many things that are unknown. I'm gonna have to do a lot of research to try to figure out what is going on with that car. I wanted to end this video on a positive note, and that is this thing that is right underneath me. This is a work of art, and I'm gonna show it to you guys right now. Are you ready?
Yep.
Boom! This is the completely custom billet intake manifold for the twin turbo F12. We had the guys at Mad Sweden design this manifold and build it for us, and it is completely different than the factory manifold. So one of the biggest things that's easy to see, other than this is a billet manifold, is that we've got two throttle bodies right in the front and in the center. And that's because with the twin turbos, the side inlets on the throttle bodies weren't gonna work. So a big change on this manifold over the stock one is that we have provisions for fuel injectors here in the manifold. These weren't in the factory manifold. Originally the engine had direct fuel injection ports, which are fuel injectors that are inside of the head and not in the manifold. We're changing that. So we needed somewhere to mount some fuel injectors. They're here now in this manifold. So this new intake manifold is the key to unlocking the 1,500 horsepower potential of this engine. And that's something that wouldn't have been feasible with the original factory Ferrari intake manifold. So this original Ferrari intake manifold was designed for this V12 engine to rev insanely high and make a lot of power normally aspirated. But now we've gone completely different direction and we're putting twin turbos on this car. So this manifold would not have worked very well. The other issue we had with the factory manifold was there was just no good spot to put in fuel injectors. And let's be honest, the new manifold looks like a piece of art, where this looks like a piece of, you get it. So the guys from Mad Sweden didn't just make this manifold and send it to us, they also sent us this box of goodies, which all of the other components we need for the intake manifold are in here. We've got throttle bodies, then we've got adapters for the throttle bodies. We can weld our intercooler tubes directly to this. They're quick release, we can take them off. Really nice pieces. We've got all the hardware, all the O-rings, gaskets, every single part that we're gonna need to make this intake manifold work is in this box. So huge thanks to the guys at Mad Sweden. This is truly a work of art. They do a lot of different manifolds and parts for a lot of different cars. I think this is probably the first Ferrari manifold they made. They spent a lot of time on this. The finish on this is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to get the engine back and bolt this piece on and put that in the car. It is gonna look so good. I cannot wait to drive this thing, but for that we're gonna need an engine. You guys might be asking yourself, when is the engine coming back? Well, I'm asking myself the same question. Unfortunately, there's a few hangups. We can't get parts from other manufacturers for some of the internal parts of the engine, like the bearings. So we are relying on Ferrari for a few more parts. We have to order the correct set of bearings with the right clearance. We're almost done measuring everything out and speccing those bearings out. Then we can order them from Italy because that's the only place that they're in stock, and get them over here. That's gonna take probably 3 to 4 weeks before we get the bearings. Then we can start the assembly process. Once we get to that point, it should move along pretty quickly, and within a matter of a couple weeks, the engine should be done, assembled, and we should be able to pick it up, bring it back here, and drop it back in the F12 and start making some big progress. This car, on the other hand,